Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik and this is a game War in the Pacific Admirals Edition, and today we will return to the match against Jochen, and today we can check already the combat activity for the 12th December 1941. Yeah, so this means it will be turn number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already. Good, so let's dive in and see what happened at the 6th day of the war in the Pacific. I think all in all, the landing operation in the Philippines and in Malaya, at least in Malaya, are more or less over, but also in the Philippines. So there are still reinforcements on their way, and simply to build up more forces to later wipe out all resistance. But the most critical part is over. So Ai Chang is now changing the owner simply because I retreated out of the city. It's nearly impossible to hold it. And I don't want to burn my units there for nothing. I can still fight another day. Ai Chang have really, for me, not the most important strategic value. It is the gate to Sichuan if you want go this road, but it's a little hard. Here we intercept a smaller Dutch army transporter, troop transporter, but this is this 4 5-point ships. So one torpedo hit is normally enough to sink it or at least cripple it completely. There we get a sinking sound, so this AP is out of the war. Of course, here is ongoing submarine war around Pearl Harbor. I maintenance my presence of my submarines mainly here to allow me to delay every activity out of Pearl Harbor. Simply will make it very risky. Last turn we saw that one of my submarines was in position to attack a heavy cruiser, but failed. So this is simply a possibility that I threaten all shipping coming in and coming out. It's not really that I must hit something, but only it will normally make it much more complicated for the allied player. Yeah, but this anti-submarine attack was a failure. So, and here is the next. Okay. I checked again and I saw that normally all allied anti-submarine equipment can, from the start, so like now, at the start of the war, already attack in deep water. There's a possibility to at least hit something. Not like the Japanese. They don't even have the really possibility to attack in deep water. First in March, April, this changed. Okay, here we have a bigger, maybe 10-point cargo ship. And again, torpedo hit. And again, this cargo ships are transport fuel. Maybe they are coming from Palmbang or somewhere else. So they have always heavy fire. It's impossible normally nearly impossible to stop this fire more. So we no sinking sound, but I think the ship will simply burn out sooner or later. And again, submarine hunter. But also no success. So far my submarines can always avoid, and on the other hand my submarines can still attack enemy, at least cargo shipping. And again, fuel or cargo is burning, so these are all dry cargo ships using for fuel transport. Yeah. There's one of my cargo ships have some. Last time I think there was a Dutch submarine hit one of my cargo ships with. Isn't the difference is of course that the Japanese really have not they have only the normal repair crew or damage control units, and the Allies they have much better one, but I don't know really how much better. If it's like 50% more success chance, I don't know. I only know they are better. And something just go down. And this was not a Japanese ship, but here I think it's one of my cargo ships, yeah. So my cargo ship also go down now. Some amphibious attack. Here's an air base normally. I only pick up all these potential air bases so that I deny the allied player, Jochen in this case, easy scouting for my navy operations in this area of the sea. And again the Dutch submarine, but here we are in shallow water, so shallow water I can normally always make a submarine attack. And we create here some hits. So I mean, this is okay so far. It's only out of ammunition. If I had more ammunition, then I maybe would kill now the submarine. In this case, it's maybe survive. And here's still the other submarine, and shittily the submarine can hit one of my smaller cargo ships and make damage to engine. On fire and heavy damage. Without fire maybe it's okay, but the fire is always a problem in combination with damage. Because so long you have a fire, I think the crew always must first get rid of the fire, and after fire is out, you can try to make emergency repair. I think this is how the game works. So here we have a damage the Pope. I think it's American submarine, but even if it's damaged, we can see the smoke is always showing something like system damage but only 2 torpedoes, so this is not enough. And again a Dutch submarine in shallow water. And at least one more hit on this submarine. So all the submarines are now really more and more damaged. I don't know how long they can maintain their position. The American submarines are failing here. I think this is the old submarine, the smaller Mark 10 submarines for the Americans. Their torpedoes have only 50% of the punching power compared to a Mark 14, but of course a Mark 14 have only 20% hit chance, something like this. And a Mark 10 I think have the standard 90% explosion. At least there's first a calculation if you even hit, and after this if you have a dot or not. So in the Mark 14 have 80% dot chance, so even if you hit, often nothing will happen. Some merging of my fleets. So my Nels always attacking the submarines and they flying deep, so they get damaged by the submarine flag. But this I must there's no way around. If you want to hit a submarine, you must come deep on low altitude attack, or the submarine will always avoid. No, I mean, I would say always avoid the strike of the airplane. So now some ship reporting. The really the advantage of many Japanese fleet submarines is that they can carry always a scout plane. So Often the submarines can detect enemy fleets even if they are not in the same hex. All other submarines can only really care and check the same hex where the submarine is. So this is a big advantage. Also, Japanese submarines normally carrying good torpedoes, enough torpedoes, and they have long range. At least the fleet submarines. The Japanese also have roughly, the others are the short range submarines. They have no scout planes, less torpedoes, short range. But they are good for defense and nearby operations. So a little air war in China. So far, the typical stuff with similar good results. And this is the first time that and not the first time, I think last time also there was some Chinese, these are Chinese P-40, so these are good standard airframes. The airframe is the same like everywhere, I would say, but these are Chinese pilots, so not the good pilots. And I come here from Amoy, or today called Xiamen, the beautiful city of Xiamen, where the Portuguese had a harbor and trading port. If you ever come to China, I would always say, come to Xiamen, because there's it's really a nice city. Similar to Qingdao, but much more warm. So I have my Tojos and my normal Ki-27s are in Canton, Guangzhou. But here in Amoy I have normally only light bombers. So I have here no escort stuff. Because so far I don't saw any need for this. But now we have here this P-40s and they're trying to mess up with my light bombers here. And I will lose now here some of my light bombers, but I mean Sonia and ENS are all really outdated training airplanes. The airframe, I would say, doesn't matter for me. The only really maybe nice stuff is the pilots. But army bombers or army pilots, army bomber pilots, better to say, are the most easy stuff you can train, because they really only learn land attack. Land attack is enough for making a ground attack against troops and also making airstrike attacks. They are both the same. So they are very easy to train. And the only secondary skill they maybe must learn is maybe sub hunter. But this is also normally not every bomber pilot needs it. So here the losses are for me, of course, not nice, and I would try to avoid it. But from all of these pilots, I would say this is the most easy for me to lose. The most complicated stuff is normally Navy torpedo bombers, simply because they must learn to make torpedo attacks and Navy attacks. And this are full 2 skills you must learn at least. So I have here official now lost 4 pilots or 4 airframes and some damage. And of course this anti-aircraft equipment of these light bombers have no impact or cannot really damage any enemy fighter. But can be more worse. This is still okay. Unluckily I have now here a second attack and more P-40s intercepting me. Now with Ida, but Ida is all doesn't matter. From all of these light bombers, I would say the Sonia is maybe the best, because the Sonia have also a camera equipment. So Sonia will make always they give you reliable detection information about the target you are attacking. So you make this attack, you damage something, and then you also get information what is there on the ground. This is not nice to have. Not many airplanes have this. So some more losses here. 3 more. Yeah. So maybe in total, I don't know, maybe 7 bombers are dead now. A little unlucky. And the Sonia also coming in long range attack. Yeah. This is normally a little out of reach. So here I have my Tojos. And I think maybe Jochen changed his base from... I don't know where he's running his cap fighters. Maybe from here in the back. This bases can normally give maybe air cover to this area. And but I was attacking here and here just now. Moving too fast. So I don't know if these Kukong, maybe if you have an airbase here. I only know that there's normally not many aviation support for the Chinese, so there's not really the possibility to move much stuff away. So long you normally operate maybe aviation support from bases with the rail link, it's more easy to shift your air power in China. But it's really a logistic problem for the Chinese army to operate their air force in the long run. The only thing what the Chinese have is a lot of manpower, but what they not have is normally everything else, like anti-tank weapons, heavy artillery, airport or aviation support. All this stuff is missing. So a little damage here, but the consequence out of this attack is normally more or less that I maybe must bring a little more fighter cover to China. Even if I have the first weeks and months of the war, I have simply not enough first-class army fighters. The Oscar 1C production is simply just ramping up and need at least 1 month to reach a meaningful output. So it's really hard. I have this key 27s, but key 27 simply have the 2 light machine guns. If they're lucky, they can damage enemy airplane and maybe forced to return to base. But this is normally the maximum I can hope for. And also the range of 3 hexes is simply 3 hexes is not enough to really cover my airstrikes. So I must see. Maybe I have to wait 1 week to really continue my bombardment in China. At least long range attacks. But I still would say at least we have here more activity. This is another playstyle. Like Dojo always try to hold everything back and wait. And Jochen maybe try to use his equipment early on. So we can also see some air attack here on Rabul and again in north of Thailand. But so far with no impact. This is a little more complicated, or let's say complicated, unluckily, or maybe at the end it was my mistake. These are now B-17s coming from Clarkfield, I would say, or something. And they're taking the airfield or the base of Miri. And even if they get all damaged, no, not all damaged, but they getting damaged and they make long range attack, they still damage my oil facilities here. And I don't know, we can now see it's a... I don't know, there was a line completely coming here over, so I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe from Cebu? Or something where else. The problem is maybe really that I had normally to take care first of the air bases in the Philippines before I take Miri. Because now, I mean, there are some rules of the game. In reality, Of course, the Allies, they more or less destroy or damage at least most of their facilities before the Japanese conquer them. But here in the game, it's not possible to destroy your own industry equipment. You can only attack enemy equipment. So if I wait to take Miri maybe 1 week later, I maybe get rid of all the air forces in the Philippines. But now I took the base, so it's an enemy base, so Jochen can now attack Miri in the air facility. The consequence is more or less that I am forced now to make an emergency relocation of some fighter forces. I mean, this have also the opportunity now to maybe, if Jochen tries this again, I can maybe damage some of these B-17s here. And this is a long-range attack, so even if these B-17s are damaged, they have a high possibility to make a crash landing or lost on the way return to base. And B-17s, they're giving, because they have 4 engines, so I think they give 4 victory points, so it's always good to get rid of them. And early on, the first 6 months of the war, there are not so many output production of B-17s for the Allied player. So even if the Allies get later on more stuff, but the first 6 months is normally a little. The Allies must play the starving guy or the poor guy game style. You cannot waste everything early on normally. You maybe can do this. I don't want to judge this, but maybe it can backfire. But it's really hard to say. Dojo try to hold all back and wait for the better days. Unluckily, the Dojo game is still, even after 3 months, on hold, so I cannot tell you anything there. So my Nels and Betty still try to find enemy submarines. And they at least report me to find submarines and attack them and even maybe create hits. Especially here in deep water, it is helpful if I can maybe create hits. Because I have still no deep water attack capacity, so if one of these bombs are maybe real hits, and these are 250 kilogram bomb hits, so if I create a real hit, it will really, this will really create a lot of damage for submarine. Maybe not instant kill, but normally always force a submarine to return to base. But of course, here's the same. For my submarines, the one hit can also be very, very, very dangerous. And I'm here in Pearl Harbor, so my next base is far away. So we have bad weather, so many air operations are cancelled. Okay, now it's the opposite, more or less. The British Air Force tried to attack my shipping in Kuantan. I think it's a Navy strike or port strike, because I still have the reinforcements coming on, unloading supplies, unloading equipment for my airbase, and the only problem is what I said before is the Army Air Force simply have really not enough Oscars up to now. Zeros I can produce. I have maybe a pool of 50 Zero fighters, but the Army, it's nearly nothing. I just upgrade one Army fighter squadron from Nate to Oscars. But this also needs 3-4 days before I can really use this, because if you change the airframe from old design to new design, all these new airframes need 1 or 2 days normally maintenance, depending how good is your airbase. So maybe in 2 days I have you one first class Army fighter wing, and this will help me. And now I'm heavily related on my zeros to create kills, and the nades, they can maybe damage something in best case. But we can see that my zeros are normally really superior against the buffalo. But the problem is there are simply so many enemy fighters now, and I have not the numbers in zeros. These are only 18 zeros, this squadron, and I think half of them are resting or something like this. So out of this maybe 18 zeros, maybe only 9 can take part of this battle. In best case, maybe 12. There's also something strange here, but I think this is maybe a glitch in the game, because at the beginning the report told me this is a airstrike, or I think a port strike or a navy strike. So normally you must see here some bomber formations, but somehow the game only show you these buffaloes. At least I would say it's a glitch, because this is a little strange. So let's see what happened here at the end. What you also can see is normally that the zeros, if there's a zero attacking, it's normally get rid of 1 or 2 buffaloes very fast and easily. Then it's run. Normally I would say one fighter can attack maybe 2 enemy airplanes, then it's running out of time or out of ammunition. But my nades, maybe I need 2 or 3 nades to get rid of 1 buffalo, simply because nades are so slow, and these 2 light machine guns. Light machine guns have 2 problems. The attack range is short, so you must come close to an airplane before you can hit it. They have maybe a high possibility to hit, but what they hit is often only small damage. So especially if the airframe have armor protection, and I'm not sure if these buffaloes have armor protection already. I think so, but I'm not most 100% sure. What else I can see is normally that the buffaloes have nearly no success against my fighters. So this is I kill here 1 buffalo after the next or damage them, but my own air force suffer nearly nothing. But this is maybe more or less related simply to the low skill of these British pilots. I would say the Buffalo is itself not a bad airplane, but a pilot is controlling a plane. So So this is a really long air battle, because this is a very powerful strike from the British Air Force. And if I had here only nades, I'm for sure this will be not enough. So now the glitch is over, and now we can see there's something behind them. So my interceptors overcome the escort fighters, and now they trying to get rid of this strike fighters, strike bombers. The Blenheims immediately more or less return. Now only the Hudsons continue their strike. I'm not sure if this is a check, like the leader or the formation of this air group, they have morale. And I don't know if the game maybe... I believe that the game has something like this, that there's a check against the morale. If the morale is too low, the strike will break. If this is now good or bad is another question, because sometimes, like in this situation, maybe it's good if the morale is breaking and they return to base, because then my fighters cannot intercept more these bombers. So you can see it in both ways. That I normally won't get rid of the enemy bombers, but it will also help me simply because if the bomber is not attacking me, then this whole strike has no meaning. And my zeros get rid of the Hudsons very easily, but my nades always can do nothing. So, it's a airfield attack, okay, looks like. And now is the after airstrike. So maybe my zeros can kill a little more. Even if the airframe is now damaged, is also okay. Give me at least this possibility, because the airplane must return to base, and maybe they have a crash landing, the airframe is damaged, or on the way back the airframe will simply not make it back and lost on his way home, something like this. You also can see here again, I mean, I explained this, that the red line is very short. This is simply because the Japanese, they only have control, they only can have lookout. So they have no radar, not this early. So in March I get the first radar sets. This is really important in this game if you play the Japanese. As early as possible, make sure that every main base where you have Air Force installed, that you have a radar set. Even the most shitty radar set will give you more reaction time, will make it much more likely that your air fighters will be in a good position to intercept enemy airstrikes. But if you have no radar, so before March it's impossible to have radars. And radar is normally always linked to base forces, aviation or airport aviation support units, and also to flag units. These three type of units normally can have radar sets. So make sure that you check them and then bring them in position. I really don't know if it makes sense to have multiply or like 2 or 3 radar sets in bases, and if this helps something, I would say normally not. At least the reaction time will not increase, but there's of course a possibility that the radar detects something. So if you have maybe more radar sets, the possibility will be near 100% that at least you will detect this airstrike, but the range and reaction time will not increase, because a radar set have only a range This is related to technology. So in the early time, the Japanese radar is very short range. So you will still have a better reaction time, but compared to Americans, never so good. This is, I would say, also a very long after airstrike combat, because normally most of this after airstrike is very short, and I'm not sure how the game simulates this. I would say it's normally based on the airspeed of the attacking airframe. So like normally the most slowest airplane is now the Hudsons, and this is maybe compared to the speed of my Nate and Zeros, and because this airframe's trying to escape to Singapore, and my Zero's trying to stop them and attack them, harass them on the way home. So a little more damage, but I think I can maybe come close to the end now. And my Zero's so clean killer. And it looks like now I have already 15 Zeros in the air. Even out of 18 now, 15 in the air, so okay, I don't remember more. Maybe I had 80% on cap, must be. The game is a little lacking the information or the feedback how many airplanes are still in combat. This I would simply, if there's a new edition of this game, maybe that you more or less give feedback to the player which airplane is still able to attack, which is attacking just now, and which is maybe running is too far away or something like this. So now we are attacking the bomber, so this is now again the second part of this combat. If I'm lucky, I can get rid of all of the Hudsons before they even can return to base. Looks like only one Hudson's up to now. I would normally only need 1 0. I mean, also Oscar 1C is enough to get rid of this normally, but naja, okay. So I lost nothing, and I at least maybe kill 9 or even more enemy fighters, and I go lost. Yeah, the bombing strike is, of course, if only 3 bombers attacking, and they're making 2. I mean, the air base hit is nothing. The supply hits will burn, of course, some of my supplies, but I don't know how many. Here's maybe more. But I normally have so far not so much there in the north of the Thailand. With the Dojo game, I bring immediately there some engineers to build the airbase there. But I think for this game, I will maybe try something else. I don't want to make it a 100% copy of my Dojo game. This is also dangerous because it's more easy to counter. So I must have some variation here. And this is now the second airstrike, the same situation. Zeros and nades against the escorting buffaloes. And this time we can see immediately the bomber, so this is why I say it must be a glitch last time. Yeah. The problem is only too many buffaloes here. Still too many buffaloes. But today it's maybe the end of the buffalo. Yeah. At least in the Malaya area. If I can kill now so many buffaloes, Jochen will be maybe less eager to use them in this active airstrikes. And this is already the beginning of the end. If the allied player don't come out more and only defending upwards, for me much easier to clean up this part of the world and pick up all the allied forces one by one before I concentrate for the end battle of Singapore. So the enemy bomber formation is breaking. Officially I only kill here now one buffalo. So, and this is the end of the airstrikes. Again, submarine attack against the American damaged destroyer, but this time we used 4 torpedoes and it's heavy damage already. But unluckily no hit. Really pity. 4 torpedoes. I don't know how much is the price for 1 torpedo. I think 10 supplies. Here's a cargo ship simply failed to repair. I don't know exactly why, because normally this ship is already in the port, so I don't know why it still can fail to operate. And it's sinking. Unlucky. And there were some troops on board. But I already saw this last time that this ship is critical damage, so I sent additional cargo ships there to pick up their army unit. So I lose now some army units, but hopefully most of them are saved. Equipment is, I think, lost always, but the army units maybe. So this is a bombardment only to test the enemy attack force, because this is normally, you can see a 3-star general with his equipped units, and this artillery bombardment will simply backfire a little, because I create no damage, but I lost some units. For bombardment it's heavy casualties, but overall it's not a... It lets me know that I have only 160 attack value and the China has 400, so for sure I cannot attack this. And this is maybe this is a commander plus his units, so they will get this 10% attack and defense bonus, so I need more forces here. And this is the first attack on, or the first battle, the first day of the Battle of Hong Kong. I come here with more or less 2 full divisions plus commander and a lot of engineers to get rid of the enemy fort level and bombardment. And we have, the British have mainly this Kowloon brigade or forces. This is the main defense units here. The rest is only small support stuff. So I can reduce the fort level. I have here 950 to 225, and I still have here 2 to 1 additional. My engine is reduced the fort level. My attack is also, but I cannot get double reduction per month or per day. It's simply a game rule. Each day you can only reduce the fort level maximum 1. So my engine is reduced the fort level. The advantage is only that I think that the calculation is at the beginning, before the battle starts, you make the reduction already, and not at the end of the battle. So I lose here nearly nothing, but I have disabled units, and the British Allied forces have here mainly also disabled, but also some destroyed. And most important is that I reduce the fort level. So I must make one more standard attack to reduce the fort level to a level 1, and level 1 is normally then so low that I can maybe try a shock attack. Still, I am not really a fan for shock attack. It can always backfire, and I don't like it too much. So this is a 4-star general, so but with no other equipment, so it's really only those staff guys. And we don't create here any damage, so... But I only use the Chinese police forces to clean up. So overall, the air war was good in Malaya, a little pity in China. But I really don't care too much as bomber pilots. And what was really missing is that my carrier airstrike near Java was not active. Somehow my carrier fleet there was doing nothing. I don't know why. I saw my scouts come out and report there was enemy fleets, and my submarines also pick up some cargo ships, but for some reason I had no airstrike. Why? Maybe they don't want today. Good. So again, reinforcements and time transfer of units. Yeah. So end of turn. So let's check the intelligence report. So we are now at 13th December. So we are more or less nearly 1 week now in the war. So air losses are 15 to 10. And the operational losses is 4 to 3. So very balanced, I would say. But mainly you can see from the 19 Allied destroyed airframes are 14 Buffaloes. And you can also see that this makes not really sense always, because here is now 14 plus 6 is normally 20. Then you have also here one Fortress is normally 21, 22, 23. But somehow here only 19. So these numbers and these numbers are not always adding up. So maybe these are true numbers and this is fog of war numbers. Who knows? I cannot tell you. I only realized that not always these numbers can be perfect. Yeah. But if I see this here, this means that the Malayan Air Force, Fighter Force is heavily suffering losses today. Also a little the bombardment formation. I lost 9 light bombers. All lost, nothing damaged. So this is typical to Japanese bombers early on. You kill them or you don't touch them, because once you touch them they are normally dead. They have no armor, no hit points, so they're immediately dying. And this is the rest is over operational losses, so yeah, this can happen. And I also get rid of one of these B-17s from flak damage, so this is always good, because they are 4 points value. Compared to the Sonia, they have only 1 point value. So Buffalo is normally 1 point, Hudson is 2 points, Sonia 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, Nell is 2 points, because always the engine. The number of engines is the number of points normally. So, and out of my 13 lost airframes, I would say that these 9 are now at least dead. Let's check. So 4 plus 3 missing, only 7, plus 1 is wounded. So I was lucky. Normally I would say if I lost 9 pilots and 9 airframes killed in air, I would also lost all of these pilots. But somehow only official 4 are dead, 3 are missing, and 1 is maybe only wounded. So I not even lost these 9 pilots, and the airframes are really doesn't matter. I still have 2 aces, and they're all related to Hiryu, but today Hiryu was not in action, so Ship losses this turn. For the Japanese, I lost these 2 standard cargo ships, nothing really special. A 14 cargo ship is always good, but this has a smaller cargo ship with speed of 14, but still a good ship. Here also 14. Good ships, but nothing crazy important for me. And I would say more sunk this turn, but official is now only a submarine. The Pope, I would say, is not dead, but so intelligence report. I don't know what you can trust them. A Pope, I think, is a Clemson class destroyer. This is one of this Dutch submarine, yeah. This is the better submarine of the British. This is Dutch. This is this long-range submarine with 10,000 endurance, and they're also using the big torpedo. The small, short-range Dutch submarines, they're using only 45 centimeter torpedoes with half damage potential. And this is this smaller troop transport. But they're only carrying 500 troops and a little cargo, so, and slow, so yeah, really only outdated ships. So not really too activity. The air war was activity, but the navy was a lot of anti-submarine stuff. My submarines hit something, and let's say this. What I can say. In China, I have not much to say because still everything is moving. I give up the Aichang simply to rescue my army forces, so I'm now here, but I still must prepare my forces. This Chinese police force, they have no attack value normally, so I have only this division, but this division is still not ready to fight. You can they need a little more time to prepare for battle, but sooner or later maybe I can use them. But all the rest is here. Most important is I need this railway link open. And looks like also that here is not more much forces left, but all these forces are now here. So maybe Jochen retreat to Loyang and give up Chengshou. So we will see how this play out. Normally I first try to take this city because there are resources in light industry. This is important next. I also need to open my railway here. Then I must take the city. And then I also must take this rail. So I need normally this rail is open back to Manchukuo and also back to Shanghai, that I can transport units and supplies around here. But needs time. I also can show something because in Dojo game this never happens. Jochen invaded here this city in north of Vietnam, and because of this there's some trigger event, and the game give me now some free units. This is Vietnam division forces. I get them for free, and but they're purely defense units, so you cannot move them around. You can see it's not possible to move them. They only defend the hex there where they are created. But at least you can see they are static. At least you get something. They are starting with a little attack value, and I think they're also not so strong, and they are only militia, so nothing really powerful, but they're good enough. And over time they can create maybe nearly 200 attack value. Because now I have here on 62 out of 54 plus additional stuff here. So normally this militia plus heavy machine gun stuff is together the 62. And later on I have here 162 plus 24. This is attack value, and this is support stuff. Anti-tank weapons and artillery stuff. Not that we usually need anti-tank stuff against Chinese units, but so only this is a free unit. Here one, and the other one is also here in Hanoi. I also get one. Oh no, this is this one. I can rebuild them, and then you can see it's the same setup, and they're free, but they're static. The advantage is more or less that I have now these two units, and at least in Hanoi, because in Hanoi I have normally a garrison request of 20, so I can now give this garrison request to the static Vietnam forces, and this more or less will free up my Japanese mixed brigade after they finish their build up. Then I can use this forces free to operate in everywhere where I want to go, because they are Southern Army, so they are flexible, they can go everywhere. But this is only a mixed brigade, so they don't have really much attack value, and they also don't get any organization upgrade, so they are support stuff, nothing special. But experience of 60 is more or less the best you can ask for, and high morale. Morale the Japanese always have, but experience is important. So I can use these forces maybe to go somewhere else. Also, this hex on this base have no value. No victory points, no industry, so I don't really care this hex. So I can give it to Jochen if he want it, can take it. And if we come to try to attack Hanoi later on. Hanoi is of course, a little important. Here some resources, but nothing really important. Too important. And the attack value is also small. The victory points are small, so Hanoi, for some reason, Hanoi have no real meaning here. And the port city is maybe more important here. So here you get victory points, here you get resources. So this is why you must normally keep Hanoi, that you have this rail back, that you can transport your resources to Saigon later, because Saigon is of course a more or less much more important area. Shipyard, light industry, and all this stuff. Saigon is really the heart of Vietnam. Anyway, there is not so much more to say. In Singapore, my 15th army arrived, but I think I will first take with my other armies. Normally I want to take Taiping first, then I can rail all my 15th army here, and then I can unload them, and then I move the rest maybe down. Because if I unload them now here and then I walk here, it also needs a lot of time, and I'm already on the way. And at least allowance star is empty, because I have here some recon information, 9 out of 10. So I know there's nothing left. And I think here I had before information, there was not much, and Georgetown is also only little forces left, so all these bases are more or less maybe empty, so maybe Jochen took all his bases back and maybe only tried to defend somewhere here in the center. It also looks like that here is empty, so I maybe bring my tank forces and take this city. So I maybe take this 3 bases in this north, and I take this bases here, then I will check if I can take this base. If I can take all of this, because normally the most easy defense force, this is a hex 3 defense. So if Jochen won't defend something here, maybe he will go for this base. This is the most easily to defend. But on the other hand, it is also a little remote. If he take all his forces back to this hex, the railway and the highway to Singapore is completely open. And then it's very easy for me later on to move the forces here up and down. And it maybe will also open the possibility for me to maybe completely ignore these forces, bring all my forces first to Singapore and take Singapore first before I make the cleanup of my layer. But I will see how this play out. Because if I go first down to Singapore, then I go back, it also costs time. Maybe it's better to first clean up here and then go for Singapore, but I will see. Not much for. I have only my submarines trying to block the way from Singapore to Palm Bank, other submarines trying to block the street out of Batavia and Oosthaven. So this more or less force all Navy traffic here the long way, Java Sea, and I also have fielded some submarines to block here this coastline, and my carriers are normally here. I was supposed normally I hoped to intercept here more and more cargo shipping, but somehow my carrier don't want to operate today. A lot of cargo shipping is also here, but I have here reinforcements coming soon, so I hope to intercept here more shipping in the next 2-3 turns. So, and I think this is all, because there's not more much to say. Here in Rabaul, not much happening, no Navy engagement, and Philippines is only a lot of submarines trying to interdict something, and Jochen try to get rid of my submarine, so everything is stable so far. And I think so far for my many submarines, I can check again. Ship, Thanks, Japanese, all dates, points. Oh no, this way. You can see I lost more or less let's say the 9 is also a good ship. So I lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good cargo ships, 1, 2, 3, 4 normal cargo ships, and the rest is a bunch of light cargo ships. And this is the shitty submarines, they don't count. And a lot of smaller support stuff, but without no value. So I really only care there's 4 or 5 good cargo ships, but they are all cargo ships. So I lost no military stuff, no wheel submarine, no destroyer, nothing else. Of course, I have one heavy cruiser is damaged, and one of my light carriers are also damaged, but they are not back in port. So maybe next turn I get I must first come back to the port, then I get information how long the repair need. But I would say maybe 2 weeks, and the heavy cruiser must go to a shipyard. So normally I will bring them here and make some emergency repair. After this I ship them back to Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong I will fix them. Good. Thank you all. This is enough for today. See you all. Take care. Bye bye.